Hey guys, today's Sunday, August the 27th of 2023, and I want to go over natural gas without any further delay. Let's get into it. Sorry for this week. I've been busy. My boys haven't been feeling good. I've been under the weather. My wife has been under the weather. It's been a crazy week, and I'm trying to at least put something out for Sunday, just so you guys don't feel like I've abandoned you guys. So just bear with me. I'm not feeling too good, but I wanted to do something at least today. It is kind of like out of my format, so this is more kind of like just winging it and just kind of showing you what I'm seeing. So let's get into it. I want to start off with the commitments of trader report, and you know what? I'm not timing myself, and also there might be things I'm going to miss, and I'm not going to post in this video. So just bear with me on that. Commitments of traders report. Remember July the 10th. You know, commercial have been hedging, they've been selling. Thinking that nat gas is going to be going higher. And for some reason, on July the 10th, they stalled and then they started accumulating, showing that maybe price action could go down on nat gas. And from here, they kind of stalled. August 7th, they kind of pulled back on the 14th, the week of the 14th. And now they resume, but haven't really taken out this high. We're kind of tippy-toeing around there. So you haven't really taken out that high, but you haven't really taken out the low of July the 10th. So we're kind of like in this range. And that's what commercials are doing in regards to nat gas. In regards to large speculators, we also stalled. We also stalled on July the 10th. And kind of thinking, maybe we're going to, maybe they were thinking it's just going to, go down. So they were selling it. And then somewhere around July 31st, August 7th, they kind of were like undecided. Then they accumulated a little bit. And then they went back. So now they're tippy-toeing in between these two ranges from the high to this low. This is where we left off this week. But everything kind of changed on July the 10th. From large speculators buying and stalling on July the 10th, from commercial hedging and then stalling in July the 10th. So remember that date. Okay, looking at our spectrum cycle analyzer, there's a few things I want to show you here. This is July the 10th around here. This is where things started to change. There's two cycles here. One is the 248 cycle, which is this one on the daily. And on the daily, we know that it hit a peak somewhere around the first week of August. The first, second, third, fourth. I mean, actually, the peak was August 4th, but it was the first week of August it was going to hit a peak. Now this cycle is down until December 14, and this could fluctuate because this is dynamic cycles. So they kind of move around. So don't lock dates just because I'm just saying it here. When we come to December, this might be totally in a different position. So that's something for you to know. But I want you to notice the peak here. We know that the weekly cycles are up. That we already know. And I'm not going to go over the weekly cycles because I already drilled it and you already are aware of that. Weekly cycles are up. However, the daily cycles hit a peak. So what could happen here? What could happen here is that, if the daily cycles is going to be the dominant force to navigate or push or influence nat gas, it could either go sideways to lower. And then somewhere around December, if it plays out, it'll go higher. Or it could do the inverse, which is just continue chugging along higher. You put a low, you just grind higher and ignore the daily cycles. Now that's the 248 cycle I just showed you, right? There's a dominant cycle, which is even more smaller and fractal. It's a 77, which is this one. As you can see, it picks some things here. maybe early here. It was kind of more chop fest. Had a peak here, May 23rd. We could zoom in a little more. Yeah, we could zoom in from the high. This is pretty much it. It's fractal. It's a cycle that comes up and it's strong. So it goes down. It's a high here. You see that we just kind of go sideways. But the high here was around July, you could say 12, 11, 12. The large speculators kind of stalled and commercial around July 10th, somewhere around this peak. Now this cycle's going down and it hits a low somewhere around August 31st, maybe September 1st, and then this cycle goes up. However, you take the 77 out and do the 248, which is a bigger cycle. It hits a peak on August 3rd. So if you do a composite, which is both, this is what you get. So there's a low, swing low around September 5th, maybe somewhere around the first week of September. And then it pops, and somewhere around October, then it goes down to like November. And that's a combination of two cycles. But if you take the 77 out and you just use the 248, it's in December. If you use the 77, it's going back and forth. So there's a peak on October, there's a low in November, and then there's a peak in December. But when you combine them, this is what you get. So this peak using the composite, somewhere around July the 14th, around there, and then it goes down. So somewhere around here, this thing, did a peak and then pulled back. Hit a peak around August 9th and then pulled back. And now if this is going to play out September 5th, that first week is going to do a swing low. And if this plays out, then this could be a dead cat bounce. So this is to probably trap more bulls if this plays out. I'm just saying if this plays out. We don't know if this is going to play out. This is just a projection of two cycles. We're just trying to decipher, what are the probabilities of this playing out. And so far, it's been pulling back, pretty much from August 9th. Is it following it? So far, you could kind of be, 50-50. It hasn't really taken out some important lows, but it's just kind of chucking along there. So if there's another leg higher, this could be a probability where this could play out. Okay, so seasonality, we have to revisit this so that way we could kind of get the big picture. Using a 5-year, we know that August is strong. Our high was August 9th in August. And then using a 5-year, it kind of gets flat between September and October, and then it gets weaker into November. There's no data for December. Going to 10 years, August is still strong. So far, we did a double top on that August 9th high, $3. And then September, a little bit above the 50%. October is a little weaker. And November is kind of the same as September. 15. You can see August is still strong. September is strong. November is kind of flat. December is weaker, below the 50%. These are percents of months, which in that gas close higher than it opened from 2009 to 2023. And then lastly, the 20-year. You can see that August is just a little bit above the 50%, but not by much. But it's stair-stepping. And it looks like October hits a peak, and then it's downhill from there. So going back to at least a 5-year, you can see that August is a strong month, and then it kind of gets flat. So is August, that August 9th high, is that our high? Is that our peak? I don't know, but something to, keep in the back of your mind. Using our super trend, as you can see, we haven't closed below 248. So nat gas remains still in a buy mode. Once we close below 248, then the sell, will trigger. But this is what the strategy indicates, and so far it's still in a buy mode. When you look at the weekly is still in a sell mode. In order for us, or trading strategy, in order for you to go long nat gas, you will have to close above 350, 354, and we haven't really gone up there or along on the weekly super trend strategy. But the daily so far is holding off. But once it closes below there, then that's not good. Okay, so this is the last chart I'm going to go over. A couple of things I want to show you here. This is my market profile. You can see that we can maybe open this up here. We pierced the point of control on the monthly chart, which is 288. There's one at 280 and pulled back. The volume there. We go into the weekly. You can see on the weekly, there's a point of control of 259, somewhere around there, really tight. And we're just kind of hovering around that line. You see the volume kind of weak below the averages. Once we go to the daily, it gets more interesting. So the daily, we penetrated the bear camp and got kicked out. Now there's a market point of control, which is a 257. We kissed the VWAPs from both anchored points, but found support. Now it's pushing higher. But you can see volume is just dwindling on the daily. Very weak. Using our Gann grid, you can see that from the first, 3 impulse wave to the grid here, you can see that this is the 1 by 1. You want to probably keep an eye out for a 9-1. So a lot of stuff is lining up for the first week of September. And you kind of found support on this angle right here, which is the 1 by 2. We go from the high to the low. Gann grid, first impulse wave. You can see that we found support at the 50% and just kind of holding there, that level. See if we could kind of grind. See that it kind of stalled here. And this is not a scale chart, so mind you, this is just more impulse waves. Measured move. Since I saw this big move developing, I started putting all my measured moves, and you can see that there was one here, there was one here, and we've pierced them all. This one goes all the way to 194. This is that move right here. I don't know if that's going to play out. I don't think so, but I always plot everything just to see how price action is, oscillating between these measured moves. And so far, we're finding support. If I see that this holds and there's not another dump and then a real one, I start putting my positive measured moves and see what are the projections into the future up. But so far, this is what is showing. And I think that's it. And also, we could do the trend lines. So this is a scale chart. So I think for you to kind of get an edge a little bit, you should have trend lines with a scale chart and trend lines with not a scale chart. So this is one scale chart. So you can see that I'm pivoting from key points. You can see this green line right here. We pierced it. Now we are above it. So this is a pivot point from here to here. You can see that we failed here. And we cracked this important one, but now we're like above it. So that's important right there. Now I'm going to show you my other chart here. This is not scaled. Same pivots. But look at that. We're above it. Same pivot points on the trend line. So if you compare us finding support on the last one and not closing below there compared to this one. you can see that on that important one, we went way below it, and now we closed above it. So there's a big difference. So I recommend you always have two charts with trend lines, one scaled and one unscaled, so you can kind of see what's happening. Let's go to my simple glance chart. This has always concerned me on the weekly, and I'll keep saying that. Could be getting toppy where you kind of, oscillate back, which kind of lines up with the daily cycle, topping out. We're above the 20 on the weekly, which is good. However, mobile bands are red. They're negative. Hekanashi weekly candles negative, and the trend color is red. The last time we had that was maybe somewhere around here, May 18th. Yeah, somewhere around there. Point of control is 257. We're somewhere around 255. We need to regain that. And this is the only thing that concerns me on the weekly chart. On the daily, it's looking a little more interesting. We're getting a crossover on the MACD, so that's looking positive for this week. We're kind of finding support at the bottom of the cloud, and you already kissed the linear regression channel here. So you can see that now price action looks like it's just going sideways. It's not really going higher, and if it does, the bears short it. If it goes too far, the bulls will buy it. So this is indication of chop fest here. But you're below the moving averages here, and you got a Tom D. Mark knife candle coming up here. You can see it right here, holding the 100 SMA, but below the 20 to 50, holding support at the cloud. There was a level here, 245. There's a level here, 250. And the cloud is kind of narrowing into the future. So interesting. And you see the market sentiment kind of pulled back a little bit here. You got a MACD crossover. So the only positive thing here is the MACD, Tom D. Mark knife candle. But the price action is negative and you're hovering around the cloud. So this could get volatile. Once you crack the cloud, it could get even more uglier. So right now the cloud is your support. But if we could get out of the cloud short term, we could continue going higher. We penetrate and close below the cloud. Short term, there's more weakness. Let's go into the last chart, which is the levels. And I haven't even done the geometry. The geometry side of it is we're even more weaker. We're definitely below the 60 on a scale chart. So it's not looking too good. We're just kind of dancing around some important levels. But let's go look at for the future in regards to levels. So this is the weekly chart. Let's just open this up so we kind of see it better. The good news is that we are very close. The midpoint would be 254. So if we could close above 254, 266 targets to the upside. Obviously, the previous week, 50%, 269, 271, and 277 for this week's targets to the upside. If it's going to be a head fake and a crash to the downside, obviously you see that this support right here, 243, 242, and then 236, and then 230 to the downside. But the most important thing is that we need to stay above this week at 254 in order to see some positive price action to the upside. So some people say like, well, I don't know, when should I go long? Well, if you can stay above at least 254, that's positive, But if you're below 254, like I wouldn't go long. But that's me. On the daily, you're already above 251, so that's good. And even 250. So 251 and 250 on the daily. So for Monday, targets to the upside would be, if you're above 251, targets to the upside would be 258 and 260. and extreme 264. And if you could go below 251, and there's that trend line right here, then you're going to go short, targets to the downside or support 247, 245, and 242 right there. Monday only. This chart is for Monday only. This is the week. And for the month, we're oscillating. I mean, we're below already 263. We failed it here. We failed it here. And now we kind of bounced here. We need to hold at least 248 and 242. So the bigger target would be at least to kiss 263 again. Once you get to 263, we'll see what happens. And that kind of lines up somewhere around here on the weekly. 263 to 266. If you could go above 263, then look at the weekly for these extreme levels or targets up here. Because once you get above 277, your next big picture level target would be 279, all the way up there. And obviously these pivot highs. That's it for me. I know this video is going to be long, but at least I'm making it up for the whole week and kind of give you a little insight of what I'm seeing, what the cycles are saying, what they're showing. And yeah, then you can make your trading decision for this week. But I will keep an eye on these lows and see if there's going to be more down pressure, or we're going to go sideways here and hold these trend lines, or, try to push and grind higher, because this has been very exhaustive, sell off. Compare, it kind of looks like this one a little bit more. Because it can't always just go like this. There has to be a back and forth. So using the daily cycle, there is a kind of a back and forth, but it bottoms out, September 1st, 2nd, around there. And then it goes up. So if there's going to be a little sideways here and then they flush it down, then maybe it could turn, and then we got to see if that's going to play out. Well, I don't want to make this video too long, which it probably is. So hopefully you like this video, and I'll probably, hopefully start feeling better and resume my pre-market and all that good stuff, and my Saturday report. Good trading. Be success. A lot of good success to you guys, and I'll keep you posted on my thoughts on natural gas.